Well, the domestic political implication of the coup has been quite widely discussed. Its implication on the Turkish institution, its implication on the Turkey's political scene, the sense of the urgency that it has created, or the sense of the solidarity that it has created with different political actors in Turkey. So the domestic political scene, the implication of the coup on the domestic political scene is well established. One of the dimensions that is not well covered, that should be well covered, is what are the foreign policy implications of this coup. I think like that we should divide the scene into two. One of them, what would be the foreign policy implication of this coup on Turkey's relationship with the West. The second one is like what kind of impact or the implication that this coup will have on Turkey's relationship with countries in the Middle East and North Africa. So in this regard, I think one of the very important facts is that Turkey does feel that after this coup, it has not received this level of solidarity or support from the US and the Europe, from the West in general, that it should have received. So here there is a sense of, a feeling of, that the West does not care enough for the democracy, for the civilian politics in this part of the world, and its action in the aftermath of the coup has only confirmed this. How so? It is like that. There isn't, thus far, Turkey has not received any high-level head of the state from the Western countries, both in Europe and US. Turkey has not received any head of the state or head of the government from the West yet. That creates a sense, an understandable sense of anger, that creates an understandable sense of alienation from the West, because what Turkey has experienced on July 15 was not a coup in the traditional sense of the coup, was not a coup in the conventional sense of the coup. It was a coup, but it was more than a coup. It also resembled more like a terror campaign. So it was a coup, but it was more than a coup. It was a terror act, but it was more than a terror act. What do I mean by this? It is clear in the conventional coups, you don't target the state institution, you don't bomb the state institution, you don't even bomb the people. What you do, you try to arrest or you try to, capture the people in power and then replace them with a new cadre of military men or new cadre of people. But what we have seen on the July 15 and the following days, that a group within the military that did not shy away from bombing the parliament, the Turkish parliament, for the first time in Turkey's history, bombing the parliament, bombing the presidential complex, bombing the headquarters of the intelligence, the headquarters of the special forces, killing people on the street. So it was more than a coup. The sense of devastation, the sense of the level of the shock that this attempt has created is immense, because Turkey people look at how its nation and parliament could have bombed something that did not even occur in the wartime. So therefore Turkey did rightly expect solidarity from the West, from the US, given the historical nature of the alliance between these countries, and the fact that it hasn't received it create a sense of resentment, a sense of anger, a sense of alienation from the West. And this will also lead to a kind of bickering in the relationship that we have already seen. Secondly, given the fact that the Fethullah Gülen, the widely believed primary mastermind behind this coup attempt, is residing in US, and despite all the Turkey's requests thus far, the US still does not give any indication that it will be willing to extradite Fethullah Gülen to Turkey, is creating another issue of friction. I think here one thing that needs to be clarified: the issue of the Gülenists, which is a designated, which has been designated as a terrorist organization in Turkey in 2014, is not one of the issues between US and Turkey. It is becoming the issue with the potential to overshadow all other issues. So not appreciating what is the level of threat that Turkey is perceiving from this group will undermine, will create tension between the bilateral relation between Turkey and the US. So it is obvious that Turkey, both with Europe and the US, is entering, in a sense, uncharted waters. I think it will be too premature to say this is going to bring an end to Turkey's NATO membership or to Turkey's relation with the West in general. I don't think that it will go thus far, for a very simple reason, because the NATO ties are important for both countries. The Western relations, the custom union are mutually beneficial for two actors. So I'm sure that the actors will be able to overcome some of their differences and will keep these ties intact. But nevertheless, we are going to have a significant level of tension and friction in Turkey's Western ties. Does that mean that Turkey will turn away from the West to a new alliance with countries like Russia or China? Particularly given the fact that President Erdogan is going to pay a visit to Russia on August 9. This visit has acquired further symbolism and further significance in the aftermath of the coup attempt. My short answer to this question: no, Turkey will not shift the axis from the West, or will not try to replace its Western ties by its Russian ties. For a very simple reason, because Turkey's relation with the West, with the NATO, with the EU is historical, is institutional, and as multidimensional and has depth. Whereas Turkey's potential relation with Russia does not have this historical depth, does not have these institutional ties, and it's not that multidimensional. With Russia, we are primarily talking about energy, economy, tourism, and also some kind of regional issue. But Turkey's relation with Russia, Turkey's ties with Russia are not that multifaceted, are not that multidimensional as it is with the West. And also, we should not forget that Turkey's priority, the Turkish strategic calculation and the Russian strategic calculation are clashing, are conflicting on many fronts. Turkey and Russia are on opposite sides in Balkans. Turkey and Russia are on opposite sides in Syria. Turkey and Russia are not, Turkish and Russian position in Central Asia is conflicting. So it is giving that Turkey and Russia are on the opposite sides of the table in most of the places surrounding Turkey, diminishes the prospect of Turkey and Russia forming strategic relationship. Okay, Turkey and Russia can increase the level of cooperation. Turkey and Russia can cooperate on many fronts. Turkey and Russia can have better relation or can form mutually beneficial economic and tourism ties. But it is very hard Turkey and Russia to develop what they have now into a strategic and institutional ties. At least for the time being, for the short term, and even for the medium term, that prospect looks quite unlikely. I think in the aftermath of the crisis, because prior to the coup, Turkey was already in a process of downsizing its ambition and foreign policy goals, and particularly in the Middle East. Because with the Syrian imbroglio, with the crisis, deepening of the Syrian crisis, Turkey more and more comes to appreciate the fact that it has to, in a sense, it has to give up on some of its prior goals in order to attain some level of, at least some level of stability, or maybe a prospect of political compromise, a prospect of a political solution in Syria. So a process of downsizing its ambition was already in place before this coup. This coup, in this regard, will not change the main structure, the main course of the Turkish foreign policy in the Middle East region, because the change of Turkish foreign policy in the Middle East is context-driven, it's structure-driven, it's not actor-driven. It's not very much driven by Turkey's domestic policy challenges does have impact, but this is not completely, this is not the primary determinant of Turkey's of the Turkish foreign policy recalibration in the Middle East. So let's speak country by country. I think main tenets, like main feature of Turkish Syrian policy will remain in place, but we will highly likely we will start to see a less vocal Turkey, a less ambitious Turkey in Syria. When it comes to Egypt, prior to the coup, there has been a talk of rapprochement between Turkey and Egypt. There has been, an indication that the diplomatic ties, at least, could be put back on track. Now, I think the prospect for rapprochement between Turkey and Egypt is unlikely, at least for the short term, because during the coup, Egypt has not condemned the coup attempt. Egypt was a country that blocked the UN Security Council condemnation of the coup attempt in Turkey. And also the Fethullah Gülen has given an interview to an Egyptian television channel. Those all creates and those all lessen the prospect of rapprochement between Turkey and Egypt. What on Iran or Saudi Arabia ties? I think the main feature of the Turkish foreign policy, the recent approach of Turkish foreign policy to Saudi Arabia and Iran will also remain intact, because Turkey and Saudi Arabia, we should not try to understand the nature of the relationship between Turkey and Saudi Arabia in the foes or friends category. Turkey and Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Iran will be at the same time foes and friends, because let's take Turkey, Iran. Turkey and Iran does have areas of cooperation. Both countries is not in favor of an independent Kurdistan, is not in favor of a very significant Kurdish dimension emerging in Syria. That means that both countries can cooperate, has the potential to cooperate on this level. And also, Iran is only second to Russia in terms of energy for Turkey, and Turkey and Iran are interested in improving the business ties. So there is area of cooperation between Iran and Turkey. But on the other hand, Turkey is very much annoyed by Iran's sectarian expansionist policy in the region. It conducts in Iran, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Lebanon, in Syria, across the region, in the Gulf. So on this level, on this front, Turkey and Iran remain to be rival to each other. So the nature of the relationship between Turkey and Iran will be both of a friendship and enmity, or rivalry and partnership at the same time. For this reason, I prefer to use the word frenemy to denote the nature of the relationship between Turkey and Iran, Turkey and Saudi Arabia. With Saudi Arabia, the same again. Turkey and Saudi Arabia has areas of cooperation in the region. They both are against the Iran expansionist policy. They more or less share a similar position in Syria, but the both countries also has their points of divergence. Their stance on Muslim Brotherhood, their stance on the movement of change in the Middle East, their stance on the coup in Egypt, their stance on the revolution or the uprising across the Arab world. That's still the gap between the both countries on these matters are still there and are still very wide. Because of this, it is also apt to describe these countries, Turkey and Saudi Arabia, similar to Turkey and Iran, will remain both partner and rival at the same time. And this coup is unlikely to change, to alter the main feature of this relationship after the coup. Thank you very much.